All right, I'm just going to walk through how I talk about grips and spin. So I don't say you absolutely have to do it this way. And maybe that will change over time, but I have a very good breaking ball, and how I do it and how I put the ball in my hand is fairly unique, but it's a little bit exaggerated. And so oftentimes I can't just teach my grip. So I recognize that there's a lot of different ways that good baseball players hold the baseball and create spin. So rather than talking about all the different ways that pitches can happen in the hand, I just describe spin and teach kids that you need to start recognizing spin. So if I am coaching players, I am the head coach or the pitching coach, and I have a group of individuals that I need to describe what's happening, I simply go to spin and then work a little bit more individually with, hey, why are you not able to create this spin? What does the ball look like in your hand? You know, oftentimes kids have the ball too deep, whether it's a changeup or a breaking ball. It's hard to manipulate the rotation of the baseball when it's back in my palm. So that's really all the further I'm going to go with that. So I'm just going to describe spin, and I hope I'm not being too assumptive here. But okay, so I'm throwing a four-seam fastball. I'm getting backspin. Axis of rotation is on each side of the baseball. I'm getting backspin. This might be slightly off axis, but typically we're going to stay here. Once that axis of rotation starts shifting this way or this way, that's when we're going to start getting a little bit more movement to it. So the straighter the ball is, the more likely that the rotation is going to be on the side where they're right behind the baseball. When you start changing the axis of rotation this way, that's when we start getting arm side run or a ball will cut. So I'll take that right into a cutter. So all a cutter is you are releasing the ball on the outside part of the ball, okay? So I'm going through the outside part of the ball, and I'm changing the axis of rotation to be here. If I do it too much, now the axis of rotation becomes here, and I have a slider. So a lot of kids that throw cutters, especially at young ages, all they're doing is getting on the side of the baseball and coming, not even around it. Like a good slider, you're going to see guys get in front of the ball. A lot of kids are just throwing a weak slider. So a true cutter is through the baseball, just on the outside part of the ball. So I still have backspin, but it's just off axis. So I change the axis of rotation to here. Now this ball is going to cut glove side. Two seams are a little different. So you'd think that manipulating where the hand comes across would be identical if I want to make the ball move the other way. But here we're playing more on, I'm going to have to turn around for this. Here we're playing more on where the smooth part of the baseball is. Now, I can tell you the concepts involved here. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but the Magnus effect is the fact that there's backspin. So there's air being pulled under the baseball. That's going to put a different air pressure on the front of the ball versus the back of the baseball. So that's also combined with how the air is coming across the ball this way. So there's air being sucked under, and then there's air that air is passing on the side. So the air that's passing on the side, when it takes the smooth part of the baseball and it's on the upper left part of the ball, it's going to create air to move faster over this side and slower on here, and it creates a drag. So when a good two-seam is thrown, regardless how their hand comes through it, they hold the ball in a way that allows the smooth part of the ball to be on the upper left part as you watch it. So what players will do is you will see big league throwers or even just amateurs trying to create this movement. They'll put a Sharpie, they'll do a big circle right here and black it out. So when they throw, they're looking for that to tighten up, that circle to tighten up and be positioned on the upper left part of the ball to take advantage of how the air is reacting with the baseball. That is how the Greg Maddux pitch is thrown. That is how good two-seam sinkers are thrown. So we're starting to see a lot more of them because people are starting to recognize what actually has to happen with the ball. It was so unique when Maddux was doing it because we didn't understand how it was happening. Now, with video being as good as it is, we're seeing 95-mile-an-hour fastballs being slowed down to frame by frame at like 10,000 frames per second or something ridiculous, and now we can see exactly what is happening. So more information is helping guys replicate this if they spend enough time doing it. Pitch design is something that is probably it is very unknown how pitches move and how they react and why they react to what they're doing. That is something that the baseball industry is not very clear on right now. So, but we do understand that concept. So laminar flow, Magnus effect, two-seam, science class, woofda. I hope I didn't butcher that too much. So we have our backspin. Those are our fastballs. Changeups are also going to have backspin. I'll tell you this, generally speaking, all we're doing with our changeup is we're putting it out in our hand. Okay, Christian Wonders, CSP_pitching. He's the pitching coach at Cressy Sports Performance, and he has a lot of good information on changeup grip, so I'd check him out on Instagram, particularly Instagram. I bet he has a presence on Twitter. I just know that his videos have been on Instagram that I've seen. So if you want further details there, but essentially you're going from fastball in these fingers to fastball in these fingers, ring fingers dominating the pitch. This is where we don't want kids getting the ball deep in their hand. The grip spacing should be very similar to what they're doing with their fastball, and we're just getting this on the ball. Not super tucked in here. I've seen this work, but typically this is what you're doing. We should see an 8 to 10 mile an hour decrease in velocity, or there should be a significant amount of added movement to their changeup. So that's what you're looking for, differential and or movement. Lastly, I'll touch on breaking balls. So when I talk to kids, I say fastball has backspin. What's the opposite of that? Everybody looks around, they don't know or aren't courageous enough to say anything because they don't want to be wrong. Curveball just has top spin. Okay, so a true 12-6 curveball is going to have the same axis of rotation as a four-seam fastball. Instead, it's going to tumble. Okay, breaking ball is there. A pitch that has straight side spin, we already discussed earlier in the video, is a slider. So I'm going to be behind the baseball, getting around it like that. Curveball, I'd have to be behind the ball this way, getting to the top of it like that. But there's also another way to throw a slider. I can take the ball and I can be on top of it like this, and I can create axis of rotation like that. This is called a gyro spin slider. Sometimes kids just accidentally do it when they're trying to throw a cutter. So if this happens, oftentimes a dot will show up right here or on my side so I can see that. It's not good or bad. It's just, again, talking about watch your spin. Have your players tune into the spin that they're creating. So gyro spin slider, side spin slider, curveball. I don't think I have anything else. I'm not going to get into split fingers or knuckleballs. I could talk about it. If you want to reach out to me and that's something that you're looking to do, I'd be happy to share my thoughts on that. I will give you a big picture piece. I highly suggest players have no more than 2 pitches for a long period of their career. Meaning I want a fastball that is good, right? I want you to throw the ball hard, and I want you to throw the ball accurately, and there is your fastball. So that's pitch number 1. Establish a good fastball. The second thing is establish a good off-speed pitch. You do not need curveball, changeup, slider. You need one of those 3 to be really good. I always say have an off-speed pitch that is devastating, that makes your fastball better, that allows you to not be perfect with your fastball command because they are so uncomfortable with the ability for you to throw an off-speed pitch that is not only good, but for a strike. And that is so uncommon to see at youth levels that why are we teaching them to throw multiple pitches? Let's just say, okay, can you throw a changeup? Can you throw a curveball? Can you throw a slider? What are you able to do right now? Which one are you most naturally inclined to throw? And then let's buy into that pitch and not be satisfied until it is devastating and you can throw it for a strike. I promise you, if you have those 2 things, you can get very far in baseball. A good fastball that you can command, and velocity is important, so you should be trying to throw that hard, right? And then an off-speed pitch that is thrown as aggressively, but has a speed differential that is significant and that moves significantly. And we talked on the changeup, the movement is something that you can decipher if that's important to you. So those are my thoughts on off-speed pitches. Teach kids to understand what kind of spin they're trying to create and then tune into the spin that they see happening. Again, if you have any questions, you can email me at cksoda@gmail.com. And this is Cass Kreitlow.